You're on.
Take one for philosophy for Professor French. Communication and intercultural relations. This report presents an analysis of an important and effective communication in the fostering of positive relations between people and varying cultures. Within this report, various aspects of intercultural relationships are examined in order to identify the role of communication plays in the improvement of said relations. It is argued within this report that the communication which occurs between different cultures can be improved in order to create more positive social environment of international scale. The key focus is placed in the factor of the immigration and the importance of effective communication and successful integration of immigrant groups and regardless of cultural differences. Communication is often overlooked yet critically important aspect of the process of cultural harmonization. Intercultural conflict has always been a major political problem within the international arena, but the recent decade it seems to be as the public has become more aware of the cultural conflict than any time in the past. This has provided an opportunity to expand the cultural intelligence of the public so more positive relations can be fostered between nations and futures.
Speak up.
Perhaps the most important factor impacting cultural intelligence is the ability of individuals to effectively communicate within those differing cultures. Effective cultural communication does not necessarily refer to the ability of individuals to speak a foreign language. Truly effective cultural communication occurs when one individual is able to recognize the aspect and the unique culture aspect of another individual so that they may interact within them in a healthy and positive manner. There are many reasons why communication plays such a critical role in the development of positive relationships between people and varying cultures. Communication is an extremely powerful social tool. It can be used to bring people together or it can be used to pull people apart. The formation of the community identifies directly related to the communication. It is through communication that individuals begin to recognize one another members of the shared community. Without communication, culture simply cannot form. It is important to note that the communication which occurs to the formation of the culture and communities does not have to be verbal in nature. This communication can come in the form of body language, hand gesture, and even artistic expression. Different communities form ways of communicating with one another in an immediately identifiable manner. Examples of this importance of communication in the formation of the culture identified can be found within communities' environments as small as a high school. For instance, in many high schools throughout the United States, they exist certain social groups which follow their own special customs. Among these customs are variations in communications. These variations in communications can come in forms of unique slang terms and patterns in speech, as they can be utilized as means of bolstering one's personal connection in their community and environment. If the impact of the communication on the formation of cultural identity may be observed in any environment as small as a high school, then one can imagine the massive impact of communication of an international level. Leaders of a nation rely on effective communication techniques in order to reduce conflict. However, it is important to note that the dialogue between nations leaders comprise only very small percentages of the international communication which occurs on a daily basis. Most intercultural communication occurs between the individual who are not involved in international politics, yet their actions still have profound impact on international relations. This is especially true for those nations who are currently experiencing an influx of immigrations. The United States is such nation which has experienced a great deal of immigrations throughout its history. Americans is often referred to as a cultural melting pot. Unfortunately, not every American has embraced the concept of cultural diversity. Like most nations, the United States has mixed records when it comes to positive cultural communication. Americans have profound some of the greatest intercultural communications in human society, such as Martin Luther King, but has also produced racial organizations such have utilized communications as a tool of diversion. Hate speech remains as a significant problem in the United States and abroad. Organizations like the KKK utilize racial slurs and damage rhetoric in order to paint certain racial groups in negative light. The KKK has specifically targeted groups in part of the campaign to halt immigration in the United States. Social diversity has helped to make the American strong, but negative culture communication may lead to reduction of number of immigrants willing to come to the United States. If the goal of anti-immigrants organizations is a strengthening of the nations in which they reside, they should take a moment to rethink their position. Diversity can be beneficial even to those groups to which remain culturally harmonious. It is important to remember that even an individual is opposed to certain culture of immigrant groups. That does not mean that said individual should fail to practice effective cultural communication. Cultural harmony can exist in voluntary segregated society as long as the communication between various groups is a respectful and culturally conscious. Immigrant groups that face a large degree of negative communication may become discouraged with the progress of integrating into society. This may lead certain individuals to form immigrant communities which remain segregated from the rest of society. Such a restricted social environment disallows the benefits of diversity which may otherwise be enjoyed by the public at large. When individuals form varying cultures fail to communicate, they also fail to identify ways to which that they may aid each other. Many great social, economics, and technological achievements come as a result of communication between differing cultures. The more positive culture communication that can be fostered in the nation, the better chances that said nations will enjoy the benefit and diversity. Therefore, it is an absolute interest of every nation to discourage the formation and continuation of any group that utilizes communications as a tool for restricting diversity and discouraging intercultural harmony. In conclusion, positive culture communications is one of the most important tools of improving relationships between individuals and an entire nation. It is through intercultural communication that the nations are able to benefit from the achievement and advancement of differing societies. Unfortunately, the cultural communication which occurs throughout the globe is often on a negative character. Organizations have found to utilize communication techniques in order to stifle diversity rather than to campaign the cause of intercultural harmony. The benefit of positive cultural communication is too great to allow these organizations to succeed. It is up to the general public to recognize the importance of positive cultural communication. It is through positive communication that the average citizen can help to improve the lives of others and encourage and increase productive immigration. Immigrants want to come to the nations where they have been welcomed and respected. Americans will continue to benefit from immigrants as long as the public recognizes the importance of positive cultural communications. Thank you, Sandra Schlomo.